we have a Jim calling who Jim can talk to. Jim in Canada has a question for us. Welcome.
Hey,
From
Jim.
one gin to another. How are you?
No, not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
I wanted to call in. I fortunately had the chance of talking to Shannon last week, and I'm great to get my other question answered. In the last couple of years, first I'll tell you that I was actually looking to become a minister, Anglican minister, much like Matt was going to become a Baptist, for whatever their term is. Of course, I'm now at the point where I've asked too many questions and gotten no answers, and I'm at the point where I'm on the fence. What I'm wondering is, for you guys who have you're questioning, is there a God and all that, does it scare you, the fact that the possibility exists that there is no consciousness after life, like once we die?
No.
Okay.
No. I mean, I didn't have any consciousness before I was born, so I mean, it's the same thing after I die. My brain will cease to function, my heart will cease to pump, and I will cease to be around. I will probably be oblong, but I definitely won't be around.
I mean, right now, I'm certainly disappointed with the notion of my mortality. I would prefer to live just about as long as I'd prefer to live until I want to stop living, but that's just not reality. I'd also like to be, wealthy without having to work and be able to teleport around the planet and become invisible when I want. But none of those things are possible either. And so if I spend the rest of my life disappointed that I can't become invisible and that I'm not going to live forever, then what little life I do have left ends up wasted on those concerns. And I'm not the slightest bit terrified of what it's like to be dead, because the evidence suggests that it's not like anything. There's nothing to experience. And so I think the biggest fear that people have is that they'll be dead, like they will spend eternity like actively not experience anything, like you'd be locked in your brain in a sensory deprivation thing or something. And that's not it at all. It's like Jim said, as far as I can tell, being dead is just like not being born yet from the first person perspective.
So let me rephrase my question, Matt. From someone who was being, trained to be a Baptist minister or pastor. I apologize, I don't get the terms right.
Doesn't matter.
No. Okay. So that moment, or maybe it was over the course of 6 months or years or whatever, because you obviously fully believe that you're going to be in a better place. I'm going to assume you did. I apologize for assuming.
Yeah.
And when that hit you, what was that moment like? Like all of a sudden, okay, I no longer believe this. It's without the evidence, and everything points to the fact that there is no consciousness after. Was it that? Because that's where I am. Was there a scary period, or did you just accept it? I'm just kind of an intimate question.
I'm interested in hearing what Jim's response to this is too. But for me, really quickly, I'm just kind of pragmatic. And when I realized that I didn't have any reason to think that I was going to continue living after I was dead, it just kind of went away. I didn't spend any time mourning it. And also, at this point, by the time I got to where I realized that there's no good reason to think I'm going to live after I'm dead, I'd already decided that the paradise that I had been convinced of sounded more like hell to me. The notion of spending eternity praising and singing that with nothing to learn, and where there's no sadness or anything else, because the sadness, those are the moments that build us. That's where I'm not suggesting that sadness should be preferred, but if you take away that variety, if you take away those things that make us who we are, like to tell my mom that she's going to be in heaven and perfectly happy while her son is in hell, whatever's in heaven, that's not my mom, because my mom could not possibly not be sad that I'm in hell. And so I went through and realized a lot of these things, that I hadn't spent any time worrying about the hell from other religions. I hadn't spent any time mourning the paradise of another religion that I wasn't going to get. And for me, it was like, if you'd been told all the way up to your 30th birthday that you were going to inherit $1 billion. And then the day before your 30th birthday, somebody said, yeah, we just told you that, the same way parents tell their kids, you can be anything when you grow up. It's not really true. You could spend the rest of your life being miserable about how you'd been lied to. But it's better to just say, you know what? I can't do anything about that. And I'd rather have a good life with what I have left. But Jim, what was your moment like, if there was one?
I guess the best way to sum it up was I no longer had a reason to die. I did have a reason to live. And that spurred a number of changes in my lifestyle. I was no longer waiting to die for things to get better. If things were going to get better, I had to make them get better. Otherwise, I was going to die just floating through life with, no real ups, downs, and no real joy. If I was going to go have any of that, I needed to go make that happen, and I need to go make that happen today because, I'd wasted decades of my life thinking I'll just go to heaven because I'm a relatively good person most of the time, and I go to confession and mass and all the rest of that, and because I was Catholic. But once I kind of came out of that and went, no, I really don't believe, it was kind of like, oh, well, I need to go live. I need to go do stuff. I need to go experience stuff. I want to go find things that make me happy and joyful and are absolutely stunning to look at, and have fun, and make every moment count. Because I don't have anything to die for. I have everything to live. There's nothing that's going to happen after I die. Everything's got to happen while I'm alive at this moment. And so, I drink deep and suck the marrow of life. I'll forget the exact quote there, as I completely mangled it badly. But just, that's kind of what it still is. I mean, that hasn't gone away. I'm still going to travel. And the reason I want to travel is because I want to go see other things. I've crafted a life that I absolutely love and wouldn't change for anything. And it's just going to get better from here. And so the moment I dropped the belief in heaven, honestly, at that moment, things got so much better for me because I started actively working to make my now heaven and not my later. And I look at people who are highly religious and only living to go to heaven, and they're so parsimonious with their lives, and they're so afraid of screwing that up, and so afraid of saying or thinking or doing the wrong thing, that they're not living right now. They're not doing anything to improve their lives. And I just think that's a trap, and not a good place to be. I'd much rather be where I am now, which is actively living my life and actively making every day the best possible day that I can. Does that make sense?
How's that, Jim?
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. I quoted you last week, actually, Matt, because I've watched a lot of your debates in the last 6 months. And, I actually remember you making that comment about, how the concept of heaven without sadness and being yourself, like almost like a lack of freedom. I quoted this to Shannon last week and she agreed, and separated from those who, if you lived a bad life, they lived a good life, you could be separated from. I guess I understand it perfectly. It's still scary to me. I guess,
and I think it'll take time. I see. So it's gonna be different for everybody. Because in my case, I was always kind of pragmatic about that. Granted, I thought I was saved from the age of 5 forward, so I didn't suffer the fear of hell the way some people did. I wasn't scared into Christianity for a thing of hell, and it was just like a matter of fact that I was going to heaven. And so for me, figuring out that I wasn't was itself a reward. It's like, oh my gosh, I had been deceived all this time, and the reward is I'm no longer deceived. But I know people, Jim, and it takes, people get over it in different ways and in different lengths of time. And I really think that, just give yourself a pass to feel how you feel, because I know atheists who still wake up with fears of hell that they don't even believe in because of indoctrination. Certainly it makes complete sense for you or anybody else to mourn the fact that you spent a good chunk of your lifetime thinking that you would get to spend eternity with a God and with the people who also made it there. We all presume that we're going to be there with our loved ones, but if the Bible's to be believed, it may not be who we think it is. But yeah, it can take time, and you got to give yourself permission to feel how you feel, because that's not a choice. You don't get to choose how you feel about something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you for that. I won't keep you guys. I know you got other callers, but no, it is a morning, and that's kind of where I am. And I'm glad you said those words. So sorry I didn't give the excitement of the previous caller, but you've really helped me.
Oh no, it's absolutely wonderful. And
Mm-hmm.
and if you get to a part where you have some realization or something that helps you out, by all means, call back in and share, because there's plenty of other people who are in the same situation you're in.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jim.